While the university is commonly understood to be a place where different knowledge systems enter into dialogue and debate, the institutional structures of the university tend to acculturate and conscript different kinds of knowledge into their own existing categories for what can be known, how knowledge can be organized, and what forms of knowledge are legitimate and credible. The Different Knowing speaker series and interviews address the question of if and how the university can be a place of different knowings, different epistemologies, different knowledges.
Every people, all the cultures of the world, come from a place. And in that place, all people are coming into the world, and in they come to learn. And they learn from the knowledges that begin within a particular place. And that place defines for a group of people what it is, how they relate to the world, how they relate to each other, and how they're going to survive and live within that particular place. And so our elders in all of our stories from ancient times have offered how we are to live in this world, and then how we are to gain that knowledge over time to continue our survival, to live out our purposes. And so knowledge is intricately important to every human being who comes into the world. For Indigenous peoples around the world, our knowledges have been diminished in the kind of forced education that we've had to be part of, not by a choice of our own, not by a choice of our parents and our ancestors, but because of federal policy, by government impositions, we were taken away from our indigenous knowledges about how we should live in a humane way with each other, and to be put into a system that was inhumane, which was a forced assimilation, and which has created trauma and triggers of abuse from the past. So we are at a place now where we recognize that the indigenous humanity that has been part of who we are as a people is something that is being threatened by modernization, globalization, assimilation, by education. And we are at a place where we recognize the deep erosions and cuts into that knowledge system, and are trying to restore and renew and regenerate our knowledges so that our children will have access to the knowledges that we had. Fragmented as they were at least something we know was a memory of the very, very past. And some communities have still a lot of that still available to them in the Aboriginal languages that they speak, and use and share their knowledges about how to survive in fishing and hunting and trapping and living and curing whatever it is they have, about the relationships with the animals that they should and will have, about their relationships with each other, and about their own history. So all of that is deep core knowledge that needs to be brought to the surface, needs to be brought not just to Aboriginal people where they have lost it because of the Indian residential schools, but more importantly, it's a way of how we are going to live in the future together. It's about how do we restore and renew the very core of our being, of what it means to be an Indigenous humanity. And so our collaborations and our work together has been first a critique of the educational systems. It's been a critique of the institutions that have created assimilation and forced integration. And it has been a way for us to be part of a very strong activist movement across Canada and the world, with people in New Zealand and Australia, in Latin America, and around the world are growing in Indigenous peoples. For now, a lot more people in China and India and Indonesia are also following along this path. And so our efforts have been to deconstruct and critique the Eurocentric humanities and their exclusions, and to begin to bring forward, as well as reclaim, restore, and renew, and regenerate the Indigenous knowledges that are still within our communities, some places that need to be restored with their Indigenous languages as well. But it's a way to give our future hope and to be able to build it from within our places.